think we're ready. Let's do it.
All right, we're ready. So welcome everyone to our next digital webinar series, and I just want to let everyone know that my palms are sweating. I didn't have much sleep last night because I wanted to do a good job introducing this fabulous speaker that's gonna teach us about the digital you today. And that's Salina Rivera. And Salina has been our partner with HITEC for at least 8 years. And now if you think about this, what I'm calling the digital new normal, she has really been a catalyst for us in actually teaching us how to pivot. We've moved so fast, and what we're experiencing right now is actually she's been sort of the catalyst and has her fingerprints all over this experience that we're seeing today and that we've had over the last probably 2 months, to be honest. And where we were with, thinking about our strategies, our events, how we were going to handle that over the next coming year, we had to switch very quickly. And I think, the power of Selena and team with Mian, I want to say, I always thought it was Mayan because of my heritage, but I think I've been now corrected on that. But I think, she's been able to just not only help us pivot, but also teach others and groups and sales teams and executives how to leverage the power of social, how to leverage the power of digital in a very orchestrated way. And not just like doing piecemeal projects, but how do you actually deliver a digital strategy? How do you put that together to increase your brand awareness, not only as an organization, but also as an individual? And I can speak for myself, and she's helped me, even offline projects, help me think through how I'm looking at my own brand. And I really, I'm just really grateful for that. So I think as we go through today, she's going to teach us about this, how does digital, this new digital normal that we all have to live in, how does this impact our organization? How does it impact our own personal brand? And then how does it impact the way that we're going to have to think about this next year, 2 years, 3 years, and how this hybrid digital world is coming together? So with that, I want to introduce Salina Rivera, and she's going to teach us about becoming the digital you. So
all right. Hello, everyone. It is so good to see all of your faces. And it is just, I was telling Viv before some of you joined, I'm usually in the background messaging a lot of you and hi, and I see some smiling faces because they know I'm the one that's usually behind the scenes doing a lot of work. So it's really good to be in front of you today and to be talking to all of you and seeing all of your beautiful faces today. All right. So anyone of you on this call who know me and may have been exposed to me at some point or another know that I believe everyone's story is worth telling. It's how the story is told that makes you all memorable. Again, I believe everyone's story is worth telling. It's how the story is told that makes you memorable. In 2015, I had a life-changing experience. I was sitting in a conference room filled with top technology leaders, like all of you, from all over the world, and young trailblazers that were being groomed to follow in their footsteps. The summit started with a high-tech tradition, where everyone in the room was asked to stand up and introduce themselves. And it went a little something like this. Yes, this is a ladle, in case you're guessing. We're home. It's my speaker. Okay, went like this. Hello, my name is Tony Castro. I am the CEO of Tech Inc. This is not my first HITEC event, and I'm Mexican. Immediately hands the mic to the next person. The next one went something like this. Buenos dias, everyone. Oh, no. Let's try this again. Buenos dias, everyone. My name is Guillermo Diaz Jr. I am a proud member of the HITEC Board of Directors. As I put my hand on my left hip with my microphone. Board of Directors. And you have no idea how good it feels to be in a room with people who can actually pronounce my name. I am the CIO of Cisco Systems. Y soy mexicano! Who would you guess was more memorable? In my opinion, only 10% of nearly 300 people that introduced themselves that day were memorable. Only 10%. I wanted to change that. And that is where the concept of the digital you was born. I believe everyone's story is worth telling. It's how the story is told that makes it memorable. A year later, I delivered the Digital You 1.0 at the 2016 HITEC Women's Forum Breakfast, sponsored by Accenture and hosted by Capital One. And I see some of the faces here that were in that session. And so it's really nice to see how the brands have been transitioning online and the Digital You has been coming to life and all of the people that we've helped to touch. It was well received and confirmed the need to help people tell their stories in a memorable way, and was delivered again at the next HITEC Summit to a larger audience, sponsored by JCPenney. Maybe some of you remember that. And then Fannie Mae, and then Intuit, and then on from there. It was quite the experience. Okay, now, everyone knows that I like engagement. I like interaction. In the classes, I like to put you to work. I say that it's time to get homework done, right? Because what you apply when you're learning, if you apply that, then when you're outside and you go to apply it to another situation that you may be in, I feel like the recall in your brain becomes much better at helping you to navigate those situations. So first things first, housekeeping, so to speak. I'd like everyone to go to their mute button. I'd like you to hover over your mute button because I want you to know where that button is, because you can ask me a question at any time. So you hit that unmute button when you're ready. Leave it on mute until you are, but when you're ready, you'll know where it's at. Next to there is a chat box. I want everyone to locate that chat box. I know that some people are already there, and if you haven't found it, let's find that chat box because we are going to use it. Next, I'd like to invite you to participate in a virtual HITEC check-in by typing your name, title, company name, how many of these webinars you've attended, city and state you're tuning in from, in 20 seconds or less. Go. Okay, I'm gonna review it one more time because we know we need to review those things, but I'd like you to type into the chat box. I'd like to see how you type in your name, your title and company, how many of these sessions you've attended, city and state you're tuning in from, 20 seconds or less. While you're doing that, I'll keep going. I realize that not everyone will be able to participate for various reasons, so no worries. Alternatively, if you have yourself on mute or if you're not able, don't have your hands free, write it down on a piece of paper next to you. It's going to be important for you to reflect back on after this. All right, I gave you 20 seconds. I see them all coming in. I love it. I love it. That's great. Yes. All right. So what we're going to do something with those after, and you'll see how it's going to help us build this digital transformation as we get to know each other And this becomes more part of your norm as you start to develop your brand impressions in this digital space to stay very relevant. All right, I gave you a little bit more than 20 seconds, but I want you to know that to make a first impression, I gave you 20 seconds, which is an eternity in the digital space. In fact, in the digital verse, or I like to call it the digital universe, your stories are only given milliseconds to be memorable. Think about that. You're only given milliseconds to be memorable. Right? I'm going to show you a screen. And I want you to know that this screen is intentionally left blank. I don't want anyone to panic. We're going to panic mode because it's going to be blank there. All right. And while we're doing that, I noticed that we have a little one on board today. And I think it's so important because the digital you impacts even little ones at that age.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. Share screen. Everyone see my screen?
No.
Right. Nope. Okay, we're gonna hit that again.
There we go.
All right. It's bound to work. As long as you keep pressing buttons, I say, it'll eventually get there at one point or another. And I just got to go to presentation mode here. This is the part that I have to figure out. That part's always a little challenging for me. All right. This slide has intentionally been left blank because we're going to do something next. Remember, I was telling you about stories and how I believe everyone's story is worth sharing. But it's how the story is being told that makes it memorable. I'm going to give you milliseconds to look at a slide, and then we're going to go back to this blank slide. Ideally. What picture stood out? And you don't have to say it out loud. Just I want you to think about this in your mind. What picture stood out to you in that slide? There was a bunch of faces there, but one stood out to you more than another. And I want you to think about why. And then I want you to place yourself up there. Because something I want you to know, I didn't ask for anyone's permission to put their pictures up there. I simply went to LinkedIn, found their photos, and put them up on a screen. This is happening to us all the time, everywhere. People are using our photos, our information, our story that we have put online, that we've asked people to believe, they're believing it and using the story, okay? Now, think about it. Whose photo did you see? And think about why. Is it color? There's color psychology that goes into everything that we do. There's body language, there's eyes. Eye contact is very big when it comes to building rapport. And all of you that are on this webinar that see your faces up here, I want you to know that I appreciate and really are grateful for your approval for this slide after the fact. Why I did this though is because two reasons. I want you to know that your likeness, your story is being taken off the internet and into other platforms, but is also being read and people are interpreting who you say you are based on the information that you're putting out there. I want to just go through a little exercise with you. This is not meant to be judgmental, although as humans, we are hardwired to judge. It was a survival mechanism that we had back then and we still have. But I want to take you through a little exercise just because I can't hear everyone at the same time. But I want to have you look at the photos with me. I'm going to use my mouse only so you can see. This guy here in the top left corner, I don't know who he is. I hope he made it to the webinar so he can see himself. But he looks nice, right? He looks like he'd be a nice, fun guy, but businesslike. And we like that. Looking over to this beauty on the left here or on the right, she's got her head turned a little bit, so I'm not really sure what she's thinking. I'm thinking maybe she's like, all right, take the picture already. Could be that. Now this lady here in the middle, boss lady. Don't want to mess with her? Not at all. The one next to him, I feel like his body's back a little bit, so he's a little curious. He's going to watch you, right? Going down further and further. I'm doing the same thing with each one of these people that I'm looking at here, besides the birthday girl that's over here. Going down further. This lady right here, I want you to know that to me, she looks like the nicest lady, but in the next sentence, we'll say, you're fired. That's what I'm interpreting. Go down further. This gentleman down here, right? The background is warming his face and he feels like he's leaning in. It makes me feel like he's inviting and warm. But look at all of the assumptions that I made just by looking at a photo and not realizing the color psychology that is coming into play and the body language that is making me like someone, not like someone in milliseconds. Now I want you to think about your profile and I want you to think about, is it projecting the brand that you want to project? And if you were to show up at a webinar like this and see your picture on that screen, would you be proud of it? And would you say, yes, that is me. That's part of my story. Personal branding is becoming less of a competitive edge and more of a requirement, really. And anyone looking into growing their business, getting that dream job, or taking their career to the next level, a personal brand online is very important. This screen, I want you to read it, right? So I know you've already read it, but yes, this is really you. What this means is that online, most of the time, when you go to find someone online, what you find is that little kitty that's on the floor. You find that little kitty, but what you know about that little kitty is, in your mind, is what's projected above. All those stripes to me mean something that they're doing in the community, something that they've done in their jobs, a skill set that they have that makes them unique. All of those things are what make you you. But if those pieces are not there, out there about you, how am I supposed to make that decision? And how are other people who have possibly your fate of your next step in your journey in their hands supposed to make that decision? Because they are using your digital footprint to make decisions about you. So the digital you, good news, you're all on the right webinar, because we are here to make sure that that impact of all of you on this call, that I know I've been watching your brands develop, some for many years, that we project that online. And Angela, I have to say to you that you are one of those ones that I feel like is just out there raging and showing, not raging that way, but that you're just making a tremendous impact with your brand and you've taken it to a whole nother level. And Delia, I can see you out there. I see a lot of people out there that are doing this. And this is what, again, why the digital you was starting. Because I want that for everyone, because your story is worth sharing. It's just how you tell it that is going to make it memorable. Translate that to digital. We are going to have some kick-ass profiles out there, I know, that are going to be developed. Okay. What happens then? They didn't know who you were before, but they're going to know now when they see this picture, right? When they see this picture come through, it's going to be your eye contact that they look at. The new digital you, when you start to invest in yourself and you start to look at all the little nuances and colors and things and how you're placing content online and what you're saying, all of those are the fibers of you that make you you, and help someone say, what do you know about this person? Allows them to say, I know this, I know that, and I know that. G has said his intro enough times that I knew it by heart. I could have kept going too. But it's really important. Repetition is the key. The first question that always comes to people's minds is, How do I do this? What do I do? My question to you is going to be, what is your goal? I would like you to think about your goal in terms of what do you want to, because oftentimes, sometimes when you say, what is your goal? You tend to be a little bit more formal. But if you get down to what you really want, I want this next job. I want to be known as this. I want, right? We're used to that from when we're children growing up. That evolves. But it starts with a goal. Because if you say it's to go after that dream job, if you say it's to position yourself as a thought leader in this particular industry, that's where it starts, okay? I want you to keep this in mind. So your goal. Type A's, we're gonna be thinking we're gonna go to point A to point B. We think we may deviate to B, but there's gonna be the real life that ends up happening. And that's okay. Because that in the digital space, we're meant to evolve. And that's what's nice about it, is that it lends itself well to an evolution and a transformation process, I believe. All right. What is the state of your digital footprint? After you have created your goal, we want you to go out there and say, baseline yourself. Where am I? All of the places that you've forgotten passwords that exist, all the places that maybe you've signed up for and let the account go or let be dormant, those all need to be in the room. We've got to get everybody in the room so we can see what we have to decide. We want to get here to this goal, but we have all of this stuff out there online. Some of it's contributing to what we want people to see of our story, and some of it is detracting from our story. So it's time to clean that up and time to get that moving into the goal so that your digital footprint really starts to speak to who you are and what you do and the value that you bring. All right, how are we feeling out there? Any questions so far?
Well, Selena, when you're talking about what is the state of your digital footprint, and I get where you're going, take a baseline of where you're at. Can you give an example how you would do that? Is it you would look at everything where you don't have a social media presence, or the content of what that social media presence is? Can you just elaborate a little bit when we talk about what's the state? You know, if you had to give a quick checklist, give us an example.
Mm-hmm. I would say all of the above, but the first place I would always start, and I always start everyone here, is I say go to Google, and not just Google yourself, but Google yourself in a several different ways. And why I say this is because I know most of you are on LinkedIn. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn is that it indexes your content better than some of your websites do. You'll see if you've been writing posts and articles out there and posting images that your digital footprint will show up when you search into Google. So I'd like you to do that with Google and then do it in your Google images as well. Then the next step is to go and figure out what all of the platforms are that you have and make sure that you can log into all of them, so that when you then decide what your plan is going to be, which we're going to get written to next, which leads right into that, then you can decide which ones you're going to take down, you're going to disable, or which ones you're going to invest further in. Thank you for that question.
Hey, Selena.
Yes.
I have maybe a comment or a question. You know, one of the things that I tell folks is like you're constantly, if you're on social, you're building your digital twin, right? This is what
Yeah,
I like.
I like that, digital twin.
So every time, and this is what I tell my kids a lot, right? Every time you post, every time you send something out, be thinking about your digital twin, because you're building it. Even if you send out, you know, some picture or whatnot.
Yes.
Is that something that we should be thinking about as well, as how and what we're putting out there?
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head. So there's two sides of that coin though. One is that you want to be thinking about what you're posting out there and making sure that it's contributing to the goal that you've established, right? Because this presence is about people being able to find information that you want them to find about you to contribute to a decision that they may be empowered or part of making about you. Give them what they need to make that decision, right? But the other side of it is that you want to be authentic. And I know everyone on this call has heard that a million times. You've been on 20,000 webinars and everyone says it. But it's true, because when you meet someone in person and they're not that person that you have grown a rapport with online, there starts to be this disconnect and disbelief in our brains that, wait a minute, you're not who you said you are. And all of the equity that you've built in the rapport and that relationship goes right out the window, because now you've got to start to further build some trust in that area. I want to give you an example of something that happened when Delia, you were saying about the digital footprint. I said Google because I didn't have a slide for Google yet, and I really wanted you to go to Google. That's one. But also, I wanted you to see something that happened recently. And I want you to know that this gentleman did not give me permission to use his profile, but he attended a webinar that I gave about a week and a half ago. And he reached out to me right after the webinar and connected with me. I am going to say great things about him, so I don't think that he'll mind that I used his digital profile. But again, I'm using it without his permission. So this gentleman attended the webinar. He reached out to me and asked me if we could connect. Sure, I said. But my thing is, I'm always going to read someone's profile before I connect with you, because I want to know who you are. So I go through his profile and I read at the top, team lead at Get Beyond. Okay, he lost me in milliseconds, because team lead, okay, Get Beyond, went right past it, because there was nothing there for me really to hold on to. I go further down, I look at his about section. I go down, I see, okay, that's some good information in there, but I see pharmaceutical sales manager, healthcare. Now I've got a disconnect in my mind. I literally typed back to him and said, thank you for connecting. I really want to build a meaningful connection with you online, but I'm not really sure what you do. So I don't know how I could refer someone to you if I don't know what you do. And he wrote back and said, well, is there something in my profile that I could change to make you think differently, or that is making you think that way? And I said, absolutely. How about let's start in just a small tweak. Let's start in that what I call waterfront real estate property there in your headline that everyone sees right below your photo where they spend most of their time, and add something about what your business does. Look at the difference between the left and the right. Now you know what he does, right? He's not just Tim Harry at Get Beyond, but you know that this guy is going to be able to provide you with payment processing if you're a small business. And if you look below there, you'll see further that he cleaned up the profile below there, took that information out there. And that happened just in a matter of 3 exchanges that we had online. So when I say that you need to do an audit of your digital footprint, it is go back and read what you've put out there too. And make sure that you're clicking on those expand buttons, because he didn't see the expansion and had forgotten that that was there. I don't know how many of you on the call have, if by a show of hands or a raise of hands, have you read your about section in the last month? Just by a show of hands. Have you read your about section in the last year? Show of hands. Who has never gone back? Who said it and forgot it? Right? Some people do that, right? But this is your digital footprint, your digital twin. You're changing. Guillermo had a major transformation in his life recently, and if he had left that other information out there, imagine how we would feel about, is he this or is he that? Did he change? Did he not? Right? So we now know who he is and what he does. And the same thing for Jason. Jason, you are been fantastic.
By the way, you were the one that said, hey, bud.
I didn't want to say it.
But I'm saying it. I'm just telling everybody here. This one that said, hey, buddy, you need to go get your shit together and talk about this stuff. So I think that I'm just being honest. I mean, that helped shift my whole mindset. So.
And Jason, I was saying, and everyone else, and HITEC, and all of you that are on this call that are part of the Emerging Executive Program, you're going through a transformation too, right? So over these next several months, your profiles are going to change. The people that you meet, the people that you learn, the digital you, right, that we're bringing to you, all of this is going to help to strengthen and tell that story of, I always say, the rock star that you are online. So after that comes the plan. This is where I find that my clients always say, as soon as they hear plan, they think, oh no, I've got to sit down, I've got to write something, I'm already busy, I have children, I've got this to do, I've got that to do. Who wants to write a plan? No one, right? The nice thing about a digital plan, though, is that it can start very light. It can start with just saying, I'm going to get a hold of what all of my assets are online. But whatever that plan and however you start, there's many steps that you can take. If you take only one step, it's to first look to see what you have and then decide what's your first step to get to that goal. A lot of people start with, which platform should I engage on? Right away, we go to which platform. That's the first thing that most people think about. Should I be on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook? And the answer is, well, it depends. And what does it depend on? It depends on you. It depends on what you want to do. Going back a couple slides, it depends on what your goal is. If I said to you, who are you targeting? And you said, I like to target 30 to 49-year-olds because I think they're the decision makers in the HR area of this particular industry that are going to be the ones who make the hiring decision about me. Now, I give you this data. Data-driven decisions aren't just made to be exclusive decisions, though. But looking at this data, you say, okay, YouTube's my go. I gotta get on YouTube. But you may not be a video person. You may not generate meaningful content on video. Not everyone can do that, right? So does that mean that you should force yourself to get on YouTube? No, that means you can go to the next area right here, up on Facebook. Because that's where the next area or group of your target market is investing their time. And if they're there, you should be there. Recently, I attended another webinar with Pinterest, and it was a gentleman, he was talking about the strategy of Pinterest and how with COVID it's changed. And so 2 months ago, with the data that was available, you may have said Pinterest was not the place you wanted to be. However, things start changing and evolving with things that are happening. Before, if you were targeting mothers or children, mothers, yes, you would be on Pinterest. But the statistic that they gave was pretty shocking. He said that it had gone up 4,000%, the people that were searching now for things to keep their kids busy. Ideas for how to keep their kids busy. So now, if you don't pivot, right, and you don't look at what's happening in those social platforms, you may just miss out. So data is a good place to start, but then you start to dig further and things happen in the world, you pay attention to those and you make those decisions. But what you don't do, I recommend, is go and set up a profile on all of these just to say you have it and just to say you secured the name. Because if lights on or no one's home, what good is it? Okay. All right. I want to talk about meaningful connections because this is something else that I feel is very important. And that is the milliseconds that we talk about. This really plays a factor in that of whether you're going to get a digital second chance or if we're going to start this engagement of this human rapport that we usually do in person, right? When in person, those of you who attended any Tony Robbins conferences or have listened to any sessions on rapport, you know that rapport starts to happen right away in person, and that verbal cues are not the strongest of cue to go by to build rapport, right? So how do you make meaningful connections in the digital space? I did block out this gentleman because I wanted to bring you this example, because I want to make sure that you see how this could be perceived if you were just in a rush to type something back to someone, or if you were in a mindset of that, I just need to get more business, I need to get more business, or whatever your mindset is. Your mindset is going to come through in your writing. So this gentleman invited me to connect. I looked at his profile, seemed pretty legit. It hit all of the criteria that I have. And I wrote back and said, thank you for connecting, Chuck. Why did I say Chuck? What is to include everyone on this call, what is the one thing everyone likes to hear most? Their name. So when you're writing back to someone, include their name. So thank you, Chuck. Thank you for connecting, Chuck. Go Blue. I didn't say, I saw on your profile that you attended U of M, that you live in Michigan. I tried to do something that would let him know I really looked at your profile and I didn't just connect with you randomly. Then he reaches right back out and says, thank you, Selena. Reach out if I can assist you with your, I lost me. With your no-fault auto insurance reform starts July 2nd, exclamation point. And I thought, man, he just went right in for the kill. Right? I did no rapport or anything. I mean, it's like you opened the door to the wolf in sheep's clothing. That's what happened. So when you're making meaningful connections, and part of that twin that G was talking about, and these are things that can be brought back up. I'm bringing this conversation to you, and I was kind enough to remove his photo and remove his title. But what if I hadn't? Right? And what if I had put that out there about this gentleman? It's something he can certainly change, but it's something that I just wanted you to be aware of. It's good to be aware of things that are happening. I want you to see this positive connection that happened too. And why this is really interesting to me is because Jason is part of the Emerging Executive Program. Jason, wave your hand so everybody can see you. And from day one, Jason has been hammering the brand impressions. This guy, you don't get one webinar without Jason asking a question. And it's not just a random question, but he starts with his name, what company he works for, and I got curious enough to find out who he was. So he reached out to me and I said, thank you for connecting. Happy Friday and have a fantastic weekend. Look at his reply. Thank you for accepting, Selena. Please remain healthy and safe while you enjoy your weekend. Kind regards, Jason. Wow, right? The conversation can continue in my eyes. And I did ask for permission for Jason because I knew he was going to be on. I did ask for permission to use this one. So know that. So the digital you really is about going and taking every aspect of your digital brand and what people see in milliseconds, going from that to who you truly are and reflecting who you truly are. I want to stop here for a moment for questions.
Hi, Selena. Chris Dominich,
Hey, Chris.
EEP Fellow from Lockheed Martin.
I love it.
What if you have different audiences? So I'm in a case where I have my work audience, professional audience, but I'm also a youth leader with middle school and teenagers. And what I say or post in regards to them and interacting with them is going to be very different possibly from my professional. How do you kind of separate, or multiple accounts, or even security, things of that nature, limiting who sees what?
Well, security is one aspect of it, but there's always updates that are happening behind the scenes. Like Facebook is known for being able to make updates to it. LinkedIn, they can make updates behind the scenes without you accepting them. In some of the cases, I don't think they mean it to your detriment, but some of the things can default your settings back to their original settings and not something that you've closed. So it's a good idea to keep up on that, especially if there's information that you don't want someone to see, or that you're trying to keep some profiles separate. What I will say, Christopher, or Chris, you told me I could call you Chris. What I will say about that is that who wants to meet someone that is just single faceted? What makes us interesting is not just what we do at work, but who we are at home, the type of husbands that we are, the type of friends that we are, the type of dads that we are, the type of leaders that we are. That makes you an even more attractive person to someone who's looking to hire someone who's well-rounded, right? Or someone who wants to consider someone for a leadership position. So what I say, Chris, in that instance is, know the culture of the platform. So on LinkedIn, I'm a big fan of when people talk about something that they're doing, but they bring it to you in a data or a business format. So let's just say you were leading an organization and the Boys and Girls Club. Instead of posting pictures about the kids and what may not be what your network wants to see. You could start posting about, did you know the Boys and Girls Club invest this way, or they're changing the lives of this many people in this way, the impact that they're having, and that how to look at it as a business and how they run as a business behind the scenes, educating people on the things that you do and that you're passionate about, so that when they see something on another platform, it's not that, oh, he's not the person I thought he was. It is that, okay, he's engaging with a different audience here, but I know who he is. He's told me that he's a leader.
Sure.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, I want to go to one more slide here.
Hey,
Sorry.
so we have a question on chat that I want to make sure gets covered. So Lucas shared with us, how do you deal with digital activity from people with the same or similar name that can be misleading? He says he's not a Brazilian urban dancer. So how do you?
I really wanted to, but I'm not so good. So
I have the same issue. There's a lot of Indiana out there.
I'm going to tell you, Lucas, thank you for asking that question. There's a solution, but it takes work and it takes consistency. I had the same problem. And I, at the first Digital U, some of the people on the call may remember this. I said, I'm going to expose something that happened to me that almost cost me to lose a client. And because their position, which was fair, was that if you can't control or you're not managing or maintaining your own digital brand, how can we trust you with ours? So there was a picture of a Selena Rivera out there, and the picture was a little risque. And I wish I looked like her. I looked at it thinking, I know that's not me. But if you didn't know me well enough, you may be able to think that that was me. So what I did in a lot of my transactions where someone doesn't know me, if they're first getting exposed to me, I started to brand myself as Selena Rivera, Mian Media. Selena Rivera, Mian Media. And now even I add on to it, because I've been in this role for so long, is HITEC marketing partner. So I am differentiating myself and pulling away and teaching people how to look for me. And even when I meet someone, I say, you can find me online, look for Selena Rivera, Mian Media, because there's a lot of Selena Riveras. So if you want to find me, Selena Rivera, Mian Media. Repetition is the key. 5 to 7 times for the person that you're trying to make that brand change or brand impact with. But even on LinkedIn, I would do that, because LinkedIn, when you start to write articles or posts or things, it's going to index those. And I always tell people, shamelessly, when you write an article, you wrote that article. Sign the article, your name, and how you want people to know you, because Google is going to start indexing that. And then as your search results start to pick up, then that is going to be part of your digital footprint. Okay. I wanted to bring up this picture because it was something that I didn't know if I was going to have enough time, and I really should look at the time before I say that I did have enough time. I don't have my watch close to me, but Viv, how much time do I have?
You have 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to show, does everyone know who this guy is? Mark Cuban?
Yep.
I found it very fascinating. I wanted to bring this up because we're all in this digital pivot and transformation, and how we're branding ourselves and how we're doing business and how we're continuing to stay relevant in the minds of the people we need to stay relevant in. And I read this story recently about how he is, now he's got a lot of money, obviously, but I want you to think about it from the mindset of not what he's spending or him as a very wealthy person. I want you to think about the mindset and how it applies to you, and how you can be thinking about doing something differently to stay relevant in the mindset of whether it's your customers, whether it's your team that you have, or whether it's a network that you've worked really hard to build to stay relevant. So anyway, closing deals is really important. People know that when you close a deal, you celebrate and you toast a glass. And not only do we toast that glass because it's a celebratory thing, but it's also something that activates our senses, right? The smell of it and the act of it helps to make us feel like we're celebrating something fun and makes it even more memorable. Well, now he's doing something different. He's sending bottles of wine, expensive bottles of wine to his clients when he closes a deal or does something. Lucas, I see you shaking your head. And he's having a virtual toast with them, because even if you're not in the same room, the five senses still get activated, right? You're seeing the color of the whiskey or the wine or whatever that may be. You're tasting the wine, even though he's on the other side of the world. You're still doing something that together is tying. So I wanted to challenge you all as we close this webinar, is to think about how you can pivot and how you can do something different and be more creative in the digital space or in a digital way to help you stay relevant, because it's on all of our minds on how we're going to go into this new normal and how quickly things are going to change. Any questions?
Selena?
Selena, this is Delia, but wonderful presentation. And I really love, we've all been to those webinars where we want to come away with key tools, with key nuggets that are applicable, that we'll remember and apply. And not just for today because it's Friday and, we'll do it Tuesday through Thursday of next week and then it kind of dissipates. So thank you for giving us some great nuggets in regards to tools that we can apply and absorb and utilize. And I just want to thank you for not just giving us the symbolism of the digital you, but the substance. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I want to add two more things to that you mentioned, that emojis. People always ask me about emojis, and I always say choose them wisely and know what they mean. Go to Wikipedia. If you're going to use an emoji that you're not really sure what it means, I found out from my kids. My mom said, or my daughter said, "Mommy, you're using that emoji? That's going to mean this." And I'm like, "Whoa, I didn't know it was going to mean that. I better take that emoji off." So I wanted to share that tidbit with you. My daughter, she couldn't be in the physical same house with me. She's on this call. She joined the call with us. And so I wanted to make sure to give her that shout out. So I'm trying to encourage her to do that. And I wanted to also give this one last tidbit of information for you. This is something that I don't want it to scare you. And I want you to know that this is just a tool that is out there online, and they exist everywhere in every platform. If you are on Twitter, or if you're on LinkedIn, or if you're on Facebook, and you don't know what to talk about or what to post or how to get going on what should I really be saying out there, look for these tools out there. If you'd like, I can send this to you as well. If you think about this here, if you're not posting right now, there's quite a bit of ideas for you out here, what you could start posting on. Motivation Monday, join in a highway of conversations that's happening every Monday. Wednesday Wisdom. Whether it's a pro tip, every one of you on this call has a Rolodex of pro tips that are longer than anything that we could imagine. There's one-liners. I know I've seen some of your faces on here. You're pretty funny, right? I love your sense of humor. But think about this. No matter what content calendar you see, no matter what voice you establish, I want you to remember three things. And by the way, my son would say right now, "Mommy, you're going to tell us three more things anyway." Because after the thank you slide, I was already prepared to say a couple just in case. But here are the three things I want you to remember. Content is content, it's true. And you have all of these different areas of content that you can help to establish a digital footprint to let people know who you are and what you believe and what your skill set is. But people, including all of you on this call, respond to three things. Is the content educational? If it's educational, we consume it. We want to share it because it also makes us look smart too when we share educational content. Is it funny? Is it humorous? We like to see other people laugh. Yenny Hernandez, I don't know if she made it on this call, but she's great at that, sharing out there some funny tidbits that she finds out there. The last one though, what do you think is? So I said educational, humor. The third is putting someone's name in lights. Inspirational would be good. That's putting someone else's name in lights. And I saw Viv come up, so I know I'm getting ready to get the pull off the carpet. So no, but it is putting someone else's name in lights. And that's something that HITEC does very well. And so if you have a story to tell, if you have something that's going to change in your life and you want us to help celebrate it and you want the network to know about it, we do too. Because our network really loves to know what's happening with all of you. And we want to celebrate with you when you're moving into that next position or something is happening in your life. So putting someone else's name in lights means that you highlight what someone else is doing. I can see right now Delia and Jason on the screen up top there. So it would be Delia saying, hey, I saw a great presentation today, and Jason was the exemplary person that got his content put up there about how to really communicate and build rapport digitally. Go, Jason. And now Jason can share that, right? Jason could say, thanks, Delia. That's awesome. And people would say, I didn't even know Jason knew how to engage online. And other people would say, he's a rock star. But information coming from someone else is more trustworthy than information that you post about yourself. Thank you.
Hey, Salina, this is Sofia Alexa II. Guess who gave me the link for the webinar? My name is Sam Chapper, EP alumnus. Thank you for everything you've done for all of us. I had a quick question. There's like, I guess it is in vogue now to have a personal website. So my question is, do you have any recommendations? And is that something you can help with as well?
Yes, it is something I can help you with. But again, I will say two things. Time. We're all pressed for time. A website is something that you don't want to set and forget, unless you're using it just as a resume spot to house files and folders. But I would say look at LinkedIn first, because again, any website that you build is harder to get indexed in Google for people to find. We put content out there because we want people to find it, right? And if our content is not going to be indexed as quickly as it will on LinkedIn, I'd say you did a beautiful article, and you don't have to be Guillermo and tell everyone that I helped you. I'm just kidding. But you did a beautiful article out there, and I didn't write it. I'm only kidding. I just gave Sam the idea. He put an article out there though and shared his experience, and tell us how well received it was.
It was great. It ended up, I really wanted to write more. So no, it was actually great. I got better contacts than I that I got before, better connections, better conversations. So that actually made a huge impact. So
if you Google Sam, you'd find that article. Thank you, everyone.
Selena, one last question, if I may. So I'm an expert in resiliency, risk mitigation, and so on, which in the current climate is probably quite useful. Mm-hmm. I was contemplating creating an article, some form of document that basically walks people through either the importance of the resiliency plan, the importance of the risk mitigation, especially from a cyber perspective, as well as a return to office type of thought process. What's the best medium, do you think, in getting that out there? Should I try to publish this on LinkedIn? How do you think I should go about doing something like that to not only extend my brand beyond where it currently is, but also just to provide some people with some insight that they may not normally have?
Thank you for asking that question. It is an awesome question that I think I want everyone, whoever's still on, I want you to listen to this. Brands are powerful, but your brand is more powerful than the brands that you work for because they're more trusted. Second thing I want you to hear is that, and I've said this many times, but it's your job to tell your story. When you leave a company, they can decide whether they take down blogs or put up blogs or whatever they do. But you wrote that, right? You were part of an achievement of something that happened. That should travel with you. That should stay with you and be part of your digital footprint. And no one else should be in control of whether that comes up or comes down. That should be your decision of whether that comes up or comes down. So LinkedIn is where I would start. A brilliant article. I can't wait to read it. But when it comes out, LinkedIn is gonna, once you publish it, it does something brilliant. It says, would you like to write a post about it? And when you write a post about it, publisher picks it up. It's not just a regular post. So now more people in your feed, and then those who like it, their feed, start to see it. Sam is shaking his head because he experienced it. So, and the good thing, Jason, is that it lives with you forever on your LinkedIn profile. So thank you for asking that question.
Selena, this is Angela. I have a very quick question.
Yes.
My guideline for the different platforms, I always used Facebook for family and friends oriented stuff, LinkedIn obviously for professional, and Instagram for the world to see anything. Now the lines are blurred because we are in a different time where you are supposed to be showing the vulnerable side of you. And recently I shared 2 personal stories on LinkedIn, which in the past, I would have never done that. I would have used Facebook for that. Mm-hmm. Have those guidelines changed because of now the world has changed? And what is your advice?
My advice is, I feel like someone who's asking me about picking the draft. And when you ask people who know about a draft pick, they have a ton of opinions, right? And I have them. I'm ready to give them. So thank you for that. But what I will say about that is that, yes, the lines have blurred. But remember, everything is temporary. We are going to keep evolving, and that new norm you have to pay attention to. So right now, absolutely, I would say continue to share it in a way. I've seen some of your stuff and you're doing it very well. So continue to be vulnerable and share that side of you. But the other thing I would say is pay attention to the climate. So when the climate starts to shift, you have to shift with it, because if you stay in that phase, and I felt that my son said something to me and said, oh no, my 5-year-old said, when are we going to get over this whole coronavirus thing? Let's just go back to Chuck E. Cheese. You know, can we just go back to Chuck E. Cheese and have fun? And why is everybody stay there? Because we are humans. We evolve. We're going to change. And everyone on this call, you're go-getters. You are rock stars. So you're not going to stay in this space. As soon as we get enough of an opening, boom, you're going to take off. You're going to be running in every area, right? Because that's who you are. So adjust with the climate. But Angela, what you're doing out there is great.
Selena, I think we have time for one more question that I caught in the chat, and then we'll close out. Our friend Cassie asked us about the content calendar that you posted earlier, and around, you know, is there a formula maybe by network on how to build out quality postings? So if it's understanding when to use hashtags, when not, when to link back to a website, if there's kind of guidelines around that. And then I know, I'm sure there's more questions, but you guys know Selena's info, so please feel free to reach out to her.
Please do. I would love to. You see on LinkedIn, I respond. But here, I want to show you something here. So a couple questions that I heard you say is, which type of content should I be posting on the various platforms? And should I be using hashtags? And how should I use them? I'm going to try to cover those as quickly as I can. But by saying the main points that I want you to hear. Hashtags, I want you to be careful with hashtags, because hashtags are an art form. And on Twitter, it's actually used to help you engage, because Twitter is a locomotive. It's going by so fast. And so people now have had to say, I want to see every person that is on the A train or the B train. That hashtag helps people to really narrow down the content that they want to see, so that they don't have to be online at the moment that you present that content. But on LinkedIn, it's meant more to have people engage. But if you use a lot of hashtags in your postings, people will say, just go to Twitter. Like if you start saying, I, as a leader of HITEC, and hashtag leader, would like to talk about cybersecurity, hashtag, you haven't gotten through your thought, and you've got a lot of hashtags out there. All of you on the call have seen that, where it's a bombardment of hashtags. You don't know if it's a sentence or a mashup of something. You just know that you don't want to read it anymore. So be careful with those. And also, when you use a hashtag, they're effective, but make sure you search the hashtag first, because sometimes a hashtag on one platform may not be what it means on another platform. And all of us on the call know what I'm talking about, right? There are some pretty embarrassing things that can happen if you put a hashtag out there and someone says, why did you use that hashtag? And I clicked on that hashtag and I was at work and it opened up something that was really inappropriate, and, you know, don't send me that type of content. And that can happen very quickly with hashtags. And as far as content goes, I would remember that each platform has its own culture. So what you post in one area, you can post the same type of content there, but it has to be different in a way that it is consumable by that particular platform, characters, meaning, but also it is something that, is it more business related? Then maybe not so much on Instagram. Maybe on Instagram, save that for your more fun side or things that you're doing. But they're all powerful platforms. It's just finding your voice and being consistent with it so that we know it's not a one-off and a fluke. We start to use it to know who you really are.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Selena, for an amazing session as always. And I also want to take the time to recognize that, you know, Selena's really been the co-pilot to all the different webinars and sessions you guys have been seeing out there. So without her, it'd be really difficult to put on a show. So I want to thank you for that as well. Speaking of upcoming sessions, I know it's a long weekend, but don't forget that next week, we will also have our Wellness Wednesday. And I'm going to share the screen right here with Eric Montes. He'll be back to teach us about some time management and finding work-life synergy to maximize some balance. And we'll also be welcoming one of our newest partners, Carlos Grande from Google Cloud. He's the VP of Global Customer Success, and he's going to be sharing strategies that he's taking with his team and the insights around how Google Cloud is helping businesses and the community stay connected. So you can, I am including this information in the chat, so we'll leave it up for a couple seconds. So please feel free to register for these sessions next week. Have a fantastic long Memorial weekend. Enjoy, recharge, and we'll see you next week. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Viv. Thanks, Selena. Appreciate everybody's time. Hope everybody has a really, really great weekend. Wanted to recognize really quickly before we get off, we have Lisa Strack from Bank of the West. Wanted to make sure that we welcomed her to the HITEC community. Great to see you.
Welcome,
enjoy your long weekend. It's so amazing to see everybody here. I have the background from our last in-person session at Oracle, because that's how much I'm craving so much being together once again as a community, physically and in person. And I look forward to seeing all of you guys soon. Thanks again for the continued engagement. Selena, thank you for such a phenomenal, phenomenal presentation today. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Hi, Sid Wilson. Just want to say hi there really quick.
Sid.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.